And we're back. Another episode of the Post Republic, April 24, 2025, here with Tyler and Silas. Got a bunch of things going on in the news today. Tyler, you got the rundown.
Oh, it's been a boring week. As you guys know, Trump is officially backing down to President Xi in his trade war with China. Trump says he's willing to lower the tariffs from 145% to 50% or anywhere from 50% to 65%. Says that he wants to be nice to China. And also, he wants China to be nice. He says they're gonna work out a deal. He's also floating the idea of a tiered tariff system, which would be 35% tariffs on goods that are not considered a threat to national security. So things like packaging, electronics, stuff that the regular consumer would need would be at a lower percentage, and then we would have things like medicine, or I don't know, maybe raw materials for making medicine or important things would be at a higher tariff, which I think could be a good idea. This week in immigration, it keeps going. The Dems are completely obsessed with the idea of losing every election for the next 40 years by supporting basically satanic gang members. Washington State and Colorado moved to pardon violent illegals that are incarcerated to avoid deportation. That's how much they love criminals. We also have it seems like a coup going on at the Pentagon. Whistleblowers coming out and leaking information, especially with in regards to some sort of disagreement regarding Iran. And then Tulsi says that she's pushing for prosecutions of these leakers. So they're not playing around. This week, we also saw a Colorado transgender bill, which defines misgendering and dead naming as discriminatory acts. Also, Colorado is trying to just basically be a sanctuary city or a sanctuary state for illegal immigrants, people seeking abortions, and people seeking transgender surgeries for minors. Weird move. Seems like Colorado's just basically a mental asylum. And then we also have the Pope has died on Easter. So that's going to be possibly signaling a big change in the, possibly in the leadership in the Catholic Church, which, we all know that the Catholic Church runs the world with the Jews. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And I think I'm putting my money on this. You guys can, I'm taking bets. I think we're going to see the first Black Pope. So anyway, that's the rundown of the happenings in the post-Republic. What are you guys interested in? We could start with some trade stuff. What do you think? Is Trump really backing down? Seems like CNN is trying to pounce on this to make it seem like Trump's a big old dummy and he's like doesn't have any real power, and she actually runs the world. They seem happy about that too.
Yeah, I think it's hard to know the long game. I think we've said that a lot with the tariffs and the trade war. I think realistically, that tariff number wasn't going to stick. It's really not feasible long term, and it's also just art of the deal stuff where you hit them hard and then you make it 50 or you make it whatever the number ends up being to where markets settle in and it's not actually as bad as people thought it would be, but it's still balancing trade in the way that it needs to be, as all the Democrats said in the 90s for so many times. But it's news to me, so I don't have a lot of. I'm learning about it just through this show now. So with those updated numbers, so it's hard for me to know exactly what's going to come of it.
Well, what do you think about the tiered tariff system? Is that a good idea to just, to especially, it's kind of like a protectionist move to, make sure that I think it seems like a common sense protectionist move to make sure that we are manufacturing like critical resources like medicine in this country. Um,
To be
what do you,
honest, that makes the most sense to me with tariffs. Just on a, it's not pure economics; it's taking into account national security, because we saw that during COVID, and if there was a war that broke out and China or some other country is making an essential good or material, that's not good for us. We're kind of at the behest of that country that makes it. So vital goods we absolutely should prioritize making here. I think that's just goes. It's so obvious, and I can't believe we've gone this far to begin with. But um, those are the things we should be making, the things that we need to survive.
yeah.
Yeah, I think China did um, say that they're going to stop, precious metals and stuff that were good, that were for used for medicine and stuff. And then that's when Trump kind of reversed. So I think there's a few other things probably in the background we're not aware of, but I remember them threatening that or saying they're going to implement, um, just blocking imports on some critical things. So I think that's where he kind of pivoted. But
And what do you think, Silas, about the strength of the Chinese economy? I remember we were listening to there was an old podcaster that you liked that was, I think he maybe was living in China and was kind of disseminating a bunch of information about, how strong, their economy is and actual some stuff going on inside of China. Do you remember, or have you been following that?
um, yeah, I mean, depending on who you talk to, you kind of get different stories. But I think their economy is kind of fluffed up. Um, they don't have much of a control mechanism. Like the U.S. dollar has oil and some other stuff to like leverage against the whole world, and China's like, kind of their own bubble that they won't let pop.
Mm.
So I think they are weaker economically, but they have the resources and the dictatorship to do, pivots real fast with their economy and anything really.
That's what I was going to say is they definitely have, a one up, or, they just have they have a severe advantage because they have they don't have a separation of powers and a constitution holding them back. And so, and they also don't have, a moral system. They don't mind, lying, cheating, stealing. And how do you fight an opponent like that except for with getting tough with them? And I think that, I think that getting tough with them economically is preferable to some sort of kinetic conflict. And it seems like a lot of political pundits will typically want to, they'll say it's inevitable, like war with China is inevitable, war with Putin is inevitable. There's always these kind of slippery slope, I know the future type arguments.
Yeah, I I feel like there's talks in the background about reducing nuclear arms with China and Russia, and that would include, I think, Iran in those talks because they have nuclear capability, but they haven't been pushing nuclear bombs. So um, I remember Trump saying that he was trying to get everyone to reduce at least 50% of their nuclear arms. Um,
What a
what
psychopath.
what but what's that mean? Like you can't just go put your nukes in the ocean or like get rid of them once they're made. So I don't understand really what that means for, like, it just seems like fluff for peace talks, but whatever works really.
So I'm asking Grok, what's the process for decommissioning um, nuclear weapons?
I mean, I think we could just put it in the water. Just have it be the new fluoride.
Yeah.
We'll just it's like cancer treatment for all. I think that's really what we got to do.
Or is it going to be like the thing that kind of sparks the next phase of evolution? Like you gotta, I've seen X-Men. Okay, let's see. Decommissioning nuclear weapons involves a highly controlled, secure, and technical process to dismantle and dispose of nuclear warheads while ensuring safety. Policy decision and planning, authorization, a government decision, often by arms control agreements or strategic policy, initiates decommissioning. Removal from active service. We got storage and initial processing, so interim storage. Retired warheads are stored in secure bunkers. See documentation, validation, dismantlement. Disassembly. Conducted at specialized facilities, dismantlement involves separating the warhead into components: the physics package, the nuclear core, high explosive triggers, and non-nuclear parts. The fissile material, plutonium or highly enriched uranium, HEU, is removed from the warhead's primary and secondary stages. Let's see, component handling. Plutonium pit is extracted and stored securely. Let's see, can it be destroyed, or what can you do with it other than weaponize it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe if all the countries dismantled and then there's like a live stream of all these parts being deposited into Switzerland or something, some neutral spot, so that everyone's proving that they are dismantling.
Okay, so it just looks like it's just stored for potential weapons in the future.
Wow.
Yeah, secure storage. They just put it in storage.
Yeah. So maybe if that storage was somewhere neutral.
Okay, here's something. Conversion to mixed oxide MOX fuel. So civilian use plutonium can be blended with uranium to create mixed oxide MOX fuel for nuclear power reactors, rendering it less suitable for weapons. So it looks like you can repurpose it
Cool.
for actual energy. Seems like a no-brainer to me, but we can't have nice things, guys.
Yeah. I don't know. There's supposed to be positive talks with Iran, so that would be a huge step towards, I think, stability between a lot of places. But they're kind of a wild card because I think their missile system rivals or is better than the United States, I guess, from what I've heard.
Yeah, the hypersonic missiles they have.
Yeah, like you have no defense against it. So,
Well, I mean, what do you guys think about Iran? We talked about recently about how to identify, enemies properly. I mean, it seems like the Dems have their enemies, like people like Putin. The right has their enemies, like Iran or China. But it seems like Iran and China are a little bit more like bipartisan. So, but is Iran, how dangerous are they? I guess scale of 1 to 10 is my question. First question.
Well, I guess it depends how you define dangerous and to who, because if we're not involved over there and we take a more, I wouldn't say quite isolationist position, but less globalist position in that, especially in that region, um, I don't really, I don't think they would have any impetus to attack us. It's more that we would get dragged into something because, obviously they fund Hezbollah, they fund all these different groups, but at the same time, are they like if we're not involved in that region, and this is my take on it, like I don't really see them. I see them as a threat in the same way, maybe even less of a threat than like North Korea, to be honest with you.
Oh, wow. So do you think that they'll, if we just kind of mind our business, they'll mind their business? And do you think the U.S. does have a moral responsibility to stop them from attaining nuclear weapons?
Well, that's, in my opinion, and we might have a disagreement about this, but I think getting a nuke is purely just as a deterrent on their end, because Gaddafi gave up his nukes and then that happened, you
Mm.
know. So I don't. I think, and I can't get inside the mind of the mullahs and the people that run Iran, but I would say that I don't think they're really going to be trigger happy with a nuke like anyone else. It's more just that you can't go to war with us like you can countries that don't have a nuke. Essentially, I just see it as a deterrent.
Mm.
And I don't, obviously, I don't agree with the Iranian regime over there and what they do um, to their people, but in terms of being involved in a conflict with them, I don't see it as a net benefit for the United States, really, in any way that I can foresee.
I'm a little bit more sympathetic to the idea of policing the world. I think that the world is like, other countries, especially like, Eastern countries, are just very brutal. And, like you mentioned, like human rights violations or the way that they treat their women and stuff like that. I'm sympathetic to the idea that if we can go in there and stop it, we should. But then you run into the argument of like, well, we've tried to do that and it didn't work. Um, and, I mean, if we just leave, I think that I don't think that they're a live and let live type of culture. But I really am not an expert in this at all. But one thing I do know about Islam is that it is very expansionist. It's very brutal. It's willing to spread the religion by the sword, and so that's just. I'm not sure we can just not just let them do whatever they want. But at the same time, you got the propaganda machine telling people that death that they just constantly chanting death to America, and if they get a nuke they're for sure going to use it, and that's always a way to use fear to amass power. So I don't know how much I trust the corporate media when they say, Iran is super dangerous. And it's something there's an interesting thing that happens when you listen to like corporate media. You'll be like, oh, they're lying so much about everything. Everything they say is a lie. And then every once in a while they say something and it like seeps in and you take it as truth or something because you're not, paying attention as much. I don't know how to explain it, but sometimes I'll find myself believing some propaganda and then having to be like, oh wait, hold on, they've been lying about everything, so they're probably lying about Iran too.
Yeah, they just don't seem aggressive towards us right now, and that can easily change even without us doing anything. So maybe policing the world in the way of trade routes and making prosperity of all countries the main goal, because we really can't go into other countries and tell them how to run their republic.
Well, if you're a big believer in democracy, I mean, all they're doing is just, especially ones, places that do have elections, they do elect in Islamic fundamentalist regime.
Mm-hmm.
And who am I to say, hey, you know, just because you voted for it, doesn't mean we're going to allow it to happen. I don't know. I don't like the idea because I don't like the idea of policing the world because you basically just, there's no limit. So you have to just police everybody at that point instead of how do you go if we go into Iran or or like use economic warfare in order to manipulate them into treating their women better. That's not going to be a cultural change. Um, and we would get into all kinds of messes. But I don't know. I'm just sympathetic to the idea. I don't think I'm an isolationist because I just see if we retreat, everyone else is just going to increase in power, and I don't think that other countries like China, Iran, or even Russia have like the same values of liberty, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They don't have a constitution So I don't know. I'm sympathetic to the idea. I'm on the fence.
Well,
Swing me.
here's the thing: like when it comes to Islam and the threat that it poses, the most important thing in my mind to be focusing on is fortifying the homeland, whether that's in Europe or anywhere else in the West, and not allowing thousands, if not millions, of whatever you want to call them, refugees or migrants into your country to then make your country over time become Islamic. That should be the focus, because if you bomb these countries but then you leave your borders open, that's like the worst of both worlds in my opinion, because you're creating the problem to some extent, and you're not allowing yourself to have a defense against the blowback from that policy. So I don't think necessarily we should be fully isolationist, but if we're not going to have a sane border policy in any way, and protect the nations that have been built, that we live in, that we enjoy, and that we like want to maintain, we have to do something about like stopping that and reversing that. So
Mm. Yeah, I guess there's going to be just trade-offs, like good old Uncle Soul. He always says it's only trade-offs. So you got a comment?
Yeah, goat. Our number one export should be our Constitution and Bill of Rights for the whole world, or you do not get to trade with us and have access to our markets.
Ooh, we got ourselves a radical in the chat. I kind of like it.
Yeah.
it's good in
Or
principle.
maybe there's stronger tariffs if you don't adopt, like, at least the basic human rights type of Bill of Rights stuff.
Well, and then you got China. China's going to be like, yeah, we care about the Constitution.
We'll do it.
Meanwhile,
Well, I believe Liberia has the same exact constitution as the United States.
Oh, is that right?
I
Yeah,
think
and
Japan's pretty close as well.
but what I'm saying is you can have the same code, but that doesn't guarantee that you're going to have the same outcome. It's a good guideline, but it has to have the culture to back it up that actually is able to follow through on those ideals. But
Mm-hmm. Well, I grokked it. I got a fact check for you, Adrian.
okay,
No country has a constitution identical to the United States, as each nation's constitution is shaped by its unique history, culture, and political context. However, several countries have constitutions that were influenced by the U.S. Constitution, adopting similar principles such as federalism, separation of powers, checks and balances, a Bill of Rights, a judicial review. Below is an overview of countries with constitutions that share key features with the U.S. Constitution based on their structural and philosophical similarities. Let's see. Liberia, right at the top, 1847, revised in 1986. Similarities: Liberia's 1847 Constitution was explicitly modeled on the U.S. Constitution, reflecting its founding by freed American slaves. Differences are Liberia is a unitary state, not federal, so with less emphasis on state level autonomy. Quick note: Liberia's constitution is often cited as the closest historical parallel to the U.S. due to direct American influence. And then the Philippines has similar, Mexico has a similar, Argentina, other Latin countries, Brazil, Colombia, Venezuela. Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm also sympathetic to the idea that, I'm always kind of railing against the idea of any sort of utopian thinking. And, Michael Malice points this out a lot, that he says the utopian thinking is that a piece of paper written by some people, 250 years ago is actually going to protect people from tyranny. That's the utopian idea, from his point of view, which I'm sympathetic to that idea, because, what is a constitution other than a social contract that needs to be enforced by someone, and with power constantly changing hands. I mean, we've seen Barack Obama go against the Supreme Court. We've seen Biden go against the Supreme Court with the student loans, and then we've also seen Trump, flirting with defying the Supreme Court when it comes to some of these deportations. And also, by the way, I don't think I'm putting money on it too. I'm making another bet, by the way. I don't think we're going to ever see any mass deportations. Not at all. Not even a little bit.
Well, now will that be because Trump doesn't have the will to do it, or he doesn't, or he's held up in the courts?
Yeah, I think he's going to get held up in the courts. I think some people are going to blame him for it, for not just defying the orders, which I think, we've talked about that there's actually a good argument for him defying the orders of the Supreme Court or whoever else to just get them out, because it kind of creates a self-referential danger where if you don't enforce this law, if you don't actually get them out, then you might not have a country anymore. So how can the Constitution block a duly elected president who won the popular vote and all the swing states from enacting his, duly elected authority? I think we're just basically seeing a bunch of libtard activist judges that are usurping the power of duly elected president.
Yeah, this is where the term obstructionist came into play, because they're just roadblocks intended to stifle any type of actual movement by Trump.
Lawfare.
So, and the left is expert at this in terms of lawfare. They have such a head start in this field that sometimes it's hard to. I sometimes think that they're tempting Trump to just become the dictator that they've been prophesizing about for the last 10 years. To where we told you he was going to become this guy. And I mean, I don't want to say that I want him to be a dictator, but whatever that means. But in terms of using Article 2 of the Constitution, that he is the sole sovereign, has the power to enact the will of the American people. At a certain point, that is the answer to this, because if not, what's going to happen is they're going to hold all this up in court. They're constantly just take it to another lower court, make the Supreme Court constantly rule on it, take it back. It's going to get to a point where we'll just wait this out for 4 years and then go right back to basically open border policies. And at that point, you're just going to continue to lose the country, whatever's left of it. So we're kind of at we've been at a crossing. We've crossed so many Rubicons over the last 10 years that if the Republicans and Trump are smart about it, they're going to have to do that, because what's going to happen is if the Dems get in 28, they're not going to give all this due process, all of this stuff. They don't care about it. They're sophists. They have proven themselves to just use that when it's convenient. I mean, a lot of politicians do that on both sides, but the point is they don't give a shit about that. They just want to enact their agenda that is against most of the American people at this point. So,
what do you think the end is? Is it really just an electoral advantage? Is it the great replacement theory? Is it the globalists that are behind it? Is it a combination of all three?
Yeah, all of the above, in my opinion. I think if you bring in, like the CDC woman said, immigrants are more willing to take the vaccine, which was new to me. They don't have those values that, some people can assimilate, but a lot of people don't. And the more multicultural you make a society, the easier it is to control, because people can't easily collectivize and say, we have shared values. We want to use this power to say, no, we're not going to do this. You're wrong. But if you have 5, 6, 7, 10 different groups of people, you can easily just split them off, make them fight against each other. It's a globalist worldview. Um, and so I mean, the goal, you see it in Europe. They don't want to have all these countries, they want to make extremely multicultural so they're easier to control. So you're not going to unify with, I mean, this is just a fact. You're not going to unify with people that don't share the same culture and values with you. Like
Yeah.
it rarely happens, maybe in certain instances, but for the most part, it's unnatural, and they know that.
Yeah.
So it's just a power play. The voting thing, that's part of it, but I think the bigger picture is just removing cultural national identity, just absorbing it into the global blob, and we're easier to control. And no, every place is every place now. You go to Canada, you walk into India, you walk into China, you walk into an Arabic country.
Little Korea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you basically, the melting pot kind of dissolves everybody into a blob, and it's
Yeah. I agree. So preservation of culture, is it they seem to have demonized the preservation of culture. You're a white nationalist, or you're a Christian nationalist, or some sort of nationalist, or a fascist or a racist or something. And whenever they do that, it's always kind of just a red flag and a giveaway that it's obviously for some more nefarious agenda.
Yeah, I think it's just the classic divide and conquer, like Adrian's saying, and it's one of those things where, like, everyone can be kind of grounded with the Constitution and live together pretty well, but then if you mix a ton of cultures in that don't respect the Constitution, then it gets pretty bad. I mean, like in every city, there's a Chinatown in every major city. There's like certain places for certain cultures to like prosper, but within that city and within our Constitution, it's worked for a while. But now, so much is flooding in from other like ideological kind of grounds that it's just dissolving the grounds of the Constitution.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast today where they were talking about people that immigrate here and then still fly their former country's flag, and they don't fly an American flag. And you can say that's symbolic, but it's also just a representation of the fact that they're not trying. They still see wherever they came from as their country, and it's like, if I move to a country and I'm like, this is now my new homeland. Ideally, I'm a part of that country now. Like that is, you can still have your previous identity. It's not to say you give up your heritage, but your goal is to say, like, the country I care about the most is the one I reside in. But I don't think that's a crazy concept. And it's interesting. I've thought about this, to ask somebody, one of your friends on the left, to say, so if you move to, let's say you move to Mexico or you move to China, should you be expected to speak Spanish or Chinese to move to that country? Most likely they're going to say yes, right? But in America or other Western nations, there's not that expectation now, which I think is kind of a double standard. But that's, language is a huge part of culture. If I move to a place, I should learn how to speak the language of the people that live there. At the very least, I should try and go through that process, instead of like, I'm never going to learn that language. I'm going to keep my values. I'm going to basically be a foreign person that always lives here. And that's not good if you have mass amounts of people doing that. Like, countries can absorb some expats who want to live in their own communities to a certain extent, but ideally, you don't want that. You want to maintain some cultural national identity, and we're not doing that.
Yeah, and the best way to preserve that culture is not to be is to not be ashamed of it, and to not allow them to manipulate you into feeling shame for wanting to preserve your own culture. And that it seems like there's been a constant demonization of the white culture, which is really like the white culture pretty much uh, you know is responsible for things like the Constitution, or responsible for things like analytic philosophy, but they're also responsible for things like postmodernism and feminism as well. But the best way is to just not be ashamed of it, and to just kind of um, have the spine to say, hey, no, we're not going to allow these different cultures that are inferior to our superior culture, and not be ashamed of that. And also, I think we need to get back to otherizing people, and not in a way, in a brutal way, but more we need to kind of collectively look down on people that refuse to learn the language of the country that they that they came into, especially on a lot of occasions they come in illegally, right? So a first act of somebody who comes in illegally is a crime, which is basically like kind of you know um, spitting on our laws, and they don't respect our country enough to have to where their first act of this country is basically spitting on our laws. And I think it's okay to otherize people to a certain extent. I think it's okay to stick up for your culture. I think it's okay to say that some cultures are superior to others. And another thing is we just got to get over this like this toxic empathy, and we need to be less tolerant. We are too tolerant. We're not in danger of not being tolerant enough. So let's just kind of let's just I think people who do care about their country, especially the United States, need to actually get serious about this issue. And that's why this is also a 70-30 issue. This is not like some partisan issue, and that's why it boggles my brain that the Dems are so hell-bent on dying on this hill. Kilmar, who's probably worse than we even think he is. He's probably, he's almost certainly some sort of MS-13 affiliated, and also, an accused wife beater, among other things, and also entered the country illegally. So, anyway, my main message though is to not let these people manipulate you into ceding the ground on your own culture. And it's not racist or bad to say, hey, some cultures are more superior than others. Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah, well, it's funny. There was a few years ago, there was a story of somebody that put stickers on their campus that just said "It's okay to be white," and there was a huge backlash about that. That this is a hate crime to say it's okay. It's not even saying we're the best, we're number one. No, it's okay. You don't have to hate yourself, and that is a hate crime.
Yeah.
Oh, we got the goat. The goat is chiming in. Some cultures are better than others. If America was a horrible place, no one would want to be breaking in. Exactly. And so we need to just stop allowing the racist, the charge of being a racist to have so much stickiness and weight. It's, I don't know. I'll have the half black guy chime in now.
Well, I am half black, and I will chime in to say that there's a reason for sure. Like Goat says, that people are trying to get into America and in other places, but in America, there's the most opportunity. It seems, even though things have been getting clamped down, over the last couple decades with just the economics, really. Like, it's way more expensive to do anything that is your dream. You can't really buy a house that easy and all kinds of stuff. So the potential is still here, but once hopefully Trump is done with this 4 years, then that potential will be back to where it was like in the 70s, 80s, 90s.
All I want is a decent economy, and I want the government to stop trying to force vaccines onto my kid. That's all I want. I want affordable energy. I want less regulation on the economy so that way I can work and build a business and actually build some wealth and also take care of my family, as opposed to having to, show somebody a freaking vax card whenever there's, a global pandemic. That's all I want. If the government would just get out of the way and allow us to allow the free market to at least do 80% of what it's capable of doing, and allow us to create our own products and to create our own energy. That's all I want. I would even be willing to look the other way on some of the corruption if they would just be normal, close the border, let us have a free economy, and allow us to make our own energy. That's all I want. Is that too much to ask?
Well, yes, Tyler, because we have other very important things that we need to be focused on. We need to be sending people over to just do things like this,
Dos gardenias para ti, que tendrán todo el calor de un beso.
It's like a scene out of The Notebook.
De esos besos que te di y que jamás encontrarás en el calor de otro hotel.
Oh.
Vivirán y te hablarán. Ay, como cuando tú estás conmigo.
Come on. Who cares? Look at them dance.
Well, I will say I did have kind of a change of heart in a way about immigration, because we're working on our house over here and we needed to get some stuff done because we want to sell it. And so this super sweet Mexican guy who's been working with us for years and years, and I've known him ever since I was 14 years old. And he is a ninja when it comes to home improvement. And like he came in here like Speedy Gonzalez and just did all the things. Like, I'm talking about trim around the whole house, like mitering all the trim, just completely replacing several doors within like a span of like a half an hour. This guy is an absolute magician when it comes to like, handyman stuff. And I know for a fact that he was an illegal. I don't know if maybe he was able to get residency or whatever, or what his immigration status is now. But I have such a soft spot for this guy because I've known him for so long. And he actually does have traditional conservative values of like, caring about your family, not aborting all of your children, of actually going to church. Some of those more traditional values that Mexican American people do bring over. And I think that there is a decent synergy with the traditional Mexican culture and American culture. We've been neighbors for a long time. I'm definitely the type of person that gets frustrated if somebody doesn't learn the language. But here's where I came down. Here's where I'm coming down is that I want all of Biden's illegals to be mass deported. Everybody from then on maybe can stay because it affects me personally. I'd like to just be like logically consistent and have like a deontological ethical system. But at the end of the day, I'm just going to say, I want to have some of the people that I care about stay. And I want all of Biden's illegals to go, because Biden's illegals were like people from Nigeria or like Somalia or like terrorists and like known terrorists and stuff like that. It's not just like Mexicans hopping the border just to find a little bit of a better life. So anyway, please go ahead and attack me for being a hypocrite.
Facts don't care about your feelings, and if he's illegal, he's illegal. No, but there should be processes where, like, maybe if they do come in legally, there is like a short little statement that you sign that you do abide by the Constitution or something like that. That way, there's some sort of legal document that can help us identify and I don't know, just have people commit to, you know, the America first or the Constitution first type of attitude.
Yeah, I understand your empathy. I get it.
Just do it. Just do it.
There are very fine people on both sides.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's one of those things where if you start writing caveats for like, well, they're a good person, like that is the way that you get no immigration law to be enforced, because it's like, well, look at the huddled masses and the children and the grandma and the nice guy, and they're obviously like, we're not demonizing people for coming over. We understand why, like, I get it. I understand why you'd want to come here. I just think at the end of the day, you have to draw the line, and that might affect people who are good people, and I do think that, especially in trades or jobs that are in short supply, you can consider saying, okay, well, we're going to allow green cards for these people to come over, but there just has to be a process, because if you say like, well, there's going to be a lot of good illegals that come over, well, that brings with it all of the other problems. So I mean, I get it. I can empathize with that perspective, because they are humans, and like you've probably met somebody who's undocumented, quote unquote. But at the same time, like, you just have to, in my opinion, you have to be hard on that. Otherwise, there will be it'll just become a Trojan horse for everything else that we've seen, and that's what Biden did, really.
Well, I will settle for. I would like to have mass deportations, especially of the 10 million that came across in the past 4 years. I would love to see some mass deportations, which we aren't going to see. Hate to break it to you, um, uh, but so I will settle for having a closed border, though. It's about trade-offs. If I'm not expecting much. I'm not expecting much. And so I'll settle for a completely closed border, which we pretty much have like a 95% reduction in illegal crossings. So I'm going to be happy about that. And then I'm also just going to continue to have, everybody gets one issue that they're not consistent on, and this is going to be mine. Deport people that I don't like, and then I'm going to keep the people home.
Well, Goat says open up the front door to stop the back door entry. That's pretty sexual, but I guess it works on the country too.
Well, Trump wants more legal immigration, and I think he's out of the majority view when it comes to that. I think the majority of Americans do want reduced legal immigration as well as reduced illegal immigration. And again, I have to go back to this. It boggles to my mind why the Dems want to die on this hill. It's a 70-30 issue, or even transgenderism is like a 95-5 issue. How is it good politics to support these types of issues and make these issues like the center of your party? When I think like something, so there's just so many things that they could actually talk about that would be more like winning issues, like they should hit the economy way more. I know they do a little bit, but I just don't understand. I don't get it. So please, Adrian, explain it to me what the Dems are thinking right now.
They're addicted to the heartstrings. They love, the kids in cages. I mean, look at BLM, like George Floyd. You're killing grandma. We're killing Kilmar. Even though he's having drinks here, why does he not have his head shaved? I thought he was in that prison. There's a lot of I think that they're not very creative, and they're not very adept at adjusting. Like, they know what will play to their base. I think this is really just a base play. Here's the thing: Trump supporters, people on the right, Republicans don't turn out during the midterms. They don't turn out for the Supreme Court race in Wisconsin. They don't turn out for anything other than the presidential election. So they see that, and they're probably angling for 26, among other things. Like, they're just trying to get this narrative spun, and they're Kilmar's like the first spear. There's going to be other, like, which again, why'd they drop the gay hairdresser? That guy, I don't know what his story was, but it probably maybe wasn't as bad as Kilmar, but at least he's gay, right? And that's something they could put the rainbow flag up there. But I don't, we're using logic, and it's all about emotion. So it doesn't even matter, even though they're playing the due process thing. They're like totally sweeping his gang affiliation under the rug as much as possible. It's just, oh, look, like, it's a Maryland man. And they'll just use these repetition, these rhetorical tools to get people to feel bad.
I think I might have it figured out. They, like we were thinking earlier, they want Trump to be a dictator. So they are focusing on issues that make him look like a dictator, and maybe he'll do some dictator type of moves to set the precedent. And then once they can get back in, that precedent is set, and they can do the dictatorship that they've always wanted.
Interesting. Yes. I think you're onto something for sure.
So bait him to cross the Rubicon, so that when they get back in, it's already been crossed. Hey, he did it, so now we're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, we're flipping everything back, but we need martial law for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a little truth bomb here. They cater to women's emotions and get emotions because they have no real policies that they can tell in public. And that is true. The 19th, repeal the 19th is trending. I really do think that was pretty much where we went wrong. Sorry, ladies. Look at me. I'm such a liberal. I'm apologizing for my toxic masculinity.
Well, look, so you covered those news stories, the misgendering bill in Colorado, and Colorado just passed a really extreme gun law. Pretty much everything that they do is based around emotion, because misgendering, it's you called someone a bad name, and guns, think of the it's always think of the children. That woman from The Simpsons is basically what it comes down to for the Democrats' line of argument. Even though, like, what we'll forget about the children who are murdered by illegal immigrants and other criminals, but it only fits. They'll use it when it fits their narrative, but emotions. That's the thing about emotions. It doesn't. You don't have to say, like, well, what about this, and what about, like, no. How does it feel? Like, it's all propagandistic ways of getting people to feel outrage or feel sad so that they can manipulate that.
Yeah.
And that does happen on the right too, but the right does have a little more balance when it comes to trying to think through at a greater bird's eye view of the situation, whereas it's all current thing in the moment. How do I feel today? Logic for most of the left.
Yeah, that's how they get action, basically, is manipulating the emotions, and that makes people move and talk and do things. So that is definitely part of their angle.
But why can't they just do both? I mean, this illegal immigration thing is so important to them. They're willing to lose. There's certain things that are so important to them that they're willing to lose elections over. And it just boggles my mind, because why not just say, hey, yeah, we care about immigration too, and then win the election and then open the border? I just don't understand. I think it has to do with their magic spell, their dark spell of normalizing things. They really believe, and they've done a very good job. I actually think they're very good at politics, and I'm not I'm actually not putting. I haven't counted them out. I know I was joking earlier, but there's a lot of people that are saying, they're going to lose every election because they're doubling down. But I just don't understand why not just lie. They lie about everything else. So just say, but I think it's because about that normalization. They think they can control reality, and they've actually done a really good job at controlling reality they've convinced a lot of people that a man can become a woman. And like we've talked about before, when you can make somebody believe absurdities, then you can make them, support atrocities pretty much. So, I mean, I guess keep going, but they're unwilling to put it down. So, and
Yeah,
I'm happy about it. I'll take it.
why would you bring in logic? Why would you
Yeah.
even tempt people to start connecting dots? Like,
Yeah.
there's just one dot, people. It's right here. Here's the latest dot. Don't look at anything else. But that's why we need people like RFK in there to give us, some good perspectives on things. And I think he said this on Bill Maher recently. I thought it was really fascinating.
To be able to Bill, we're getting ahead of ourselves. All I'm saying is that autism is only part of the story. Kids are gayer than ever, and they're fat, repulsively fat. That's another piece of what I'm trying to do here, okay, Bill?
Well, it's certainly...
We need to be able to call a spade a spade. If a kid is fat, gay, or let's say a chess American, we need to call it out. You can't solve a problem you're not willing to address, you fucking aging pothead. But as I was saying, the Magamons from Ohio, what you West Coast dipshits call the anti-vaxxers, might be right about this whole thing. And the psych meds are probably turning the kids into flamers.
I think that's the truth.
I agree with everything. Yeah, we need to get way more comfortable with otherizing people. Fat shaming, gay shaming. Well, I wanted to show, this is a good example of a 90-10 issue on the other side. So a 90-10 issue would be repeal the 19th, right? Oops, I clicked the wrong one. Here we go. So the argument for repeal the 19th is because we don't send women to go fight wars, but women's votes send their male counterparts to fight wars. And I totally agree with that. But the political reality is that that's a 90-10 issue. There are not, maybe even a 95-5 type issue where Republicans and conservatives or people on the right broadly are smart enough politically not to make this their campaign slogan. Even though we secretly want to do that.
Well, would you be happy with maybe a 3/5 compromise vote? Or
No.
Oh, that's an old joke there.
Oh, good one.
We're going far here.
So the Pope died.
Hey, the Pope died. And then Klaus Schwab stepped down this same day, basically. That was weird.
I think
right?
JD Vance was involved with both of those. No.
Oh, well, I have a clip for you.
Showing him killing the Pope or something.
This is the last time that the Pope was seen alive, and it's pretty interesting. I haven't seen this posted around that much.
Yeah, I knew it. Just breathing on him killed him.
Man, that's actual footage.
Mm-hmm.
Real, yeah. It was filmed by the Black Pope.
Yes, we're definitely getting a Black Pope. I'm willing to bet that the next Pope will be more progressive as well.
Probably. There's I was going to say I think it was a Pope or someone very spiritual back in the day, and they have supposedly predicted every Pope.
Oh, and really?
They're saying through their predictions, the next Pope is the last Pope, and within his reign comes like the end or whatever. and his name is like Peter or something like that. And there's 3 in line that are named Peter.
Really? It's a very popular name in Roman
It is.
Catholicism.
Yeah.
I thought Pope Francis it was so interesting to me because most Catholics didn't like Francis,
Yeah.
and most atheists loved Francis.
That tells you everything you
It
need
was
to know.
such a weird dynamic where everyone's like, you know what, this Pope's pretty cool. And the people that are actually in the church
I'm a
are
cool
like,
Pope.
this Pope is fucking terrible.
Yeah.
All right, let's check out who the next guy is. Okay, it's Peter Brabeck Latmet. I don't know how
Ooh,
to
a Peter.
say that. But yeah, he's looking a little shapeshiftery. Here, let me share this so you guys can see.
Is this the WEF guy?
Yeah, the new WAF guy.
Yeah.
WEF. He's looking a little lizardy. He's
Yeah, what's
looking
going
a
on
little
with that eye
shapeshifty.
there?
That eye, you can't.
Both
It's
of
always
them.
in the eyes.
There's another picture with his left eye like all bloodshot.
Oh, really?
Ugh.
And that's been going around. It looks really bad. Yeah, he's got skin hanging over his lizard body, I guess.
You think they could have gone for someone slightly younger? It seems like he's Klaus's age there.
Yeah, that's weird. But he's just acting as the head right now until they
Okay,
do whatever they do. I don't know if they vote for it or what. But
Mm.
Klaus Schwab, he's founded the WEF. So his own system turned against him. So there's probably something interesting, behind the scenes that's going on. That
5D chess.
Yeah, maybe too many people at the WEF got myocarditis, and they're like, "What the fuck, Klaus? You said this was safe."
Oh, well, I think the Pope dying, though, it really does. Gosh, it's so apropos to everything that's been going on. Like, it is. We are witnessing the death of the liberal economic empire. Like, we really are seeing like somebody like Pete Hegseth. He's got his tattoos. He's kind of a trad. He's kind of a trad Chad. Seeing somebody like that who has no government experience, but is an actual combat vet. Seeing somebody like that, not like young, almost my age, probably 10 years older, but seeing somebody like that in a leadership position at the Pentagon is such a white pill to me. And it seems like there's a concerted effort, a pretty serious concerted effort to smear him. It seems like there's some sort of internal coup happening with the military industrial complex. But I think that he's weathering the storm, and Trump keeps backing him. I think he's probably going through something similar to what Trump has gone through with all the lies and the fake stories. I personally thought that Signalgate was very embarrassing. I thought it showed the world that the Trump administration is sloppy. It showed that we don't have competent leaders. It gave a sting to the political attack that Pete is not up to the job. He doesn't have the experience. He's too young or too conservative or whatever. But seeing people like Joe Biden go out of power forever, seeing people like the power of Mitch McConnell dwindling, he's going to be gone. And then the Pope passing away. It's almost like we're finally getting the baton of power is finally passing on to, say, a new generation.
Yeah, it would be nice if there was a younger pope that came in that maybe was based in some way, but I don't know. Like you said, I think it'll be trending the other ways. But like Pope, that's the longest reigning like political position on Earth right now, and we have a lot of influence.
Well, so here's my prediction. It's going to be a black pope, but he's going to be based AF because black dudes are based nowadays. It seems like it's the liberal white women and black women that are really they're just holding us back, you guys.
Are you saying Jesse Peters is going to be the new pope? Is that
Jesse Lee Peterson, baby, that's my
Wow.
boy.
Wow.
What a mess.
There's rumors it might be a Chinese guy, actually.
Oh gosh, Chinese, they're taking everybody's jobs.
Yeah.
Deport him.
Well, I did want to take a moment to do a shameless plug for our new store, the Post Republic Teespring store. We have these super sophisticated designs that
Kanye helped us with
yeah,
it.
Kanye was helping. I got Fluoride is Freedom basic tee in any color. I got the F Bill Gates onesie. Let's see, it's only $24.99, guys. So I also have the. Let's see this. Let's get a close up of this here. We got the All Your Musical Heroes Are Shit Libs mug, so you can start your day.
Yeah, I resonate with that.
Yeah,
I'll pick that up.
And that is at the Post Republic. Let's see. Let me get the actual website properly. Oh, I'll plug it. I'm gonna connect it to the description for all those people. I know we're gonna have like a flood of orders.
There's gonna be a lot of people.
And if you guys have shirt ideas, just hit me up. Anyway, okay, back to the show.
So we have a segment. I don't know if you guys got a clip for this, but I certainly do. It's our Cuck of the Week.
Yes. Okay. I don't have a clip, but I'm gonna get one for next week.
Yeah. You've got one. All right. So we've got a tandem here. I'll go first. I saw this the other day on Twitter, and it kind of goes back to our conversation about not being ashamed of your heritage, especially if you happen to be a white person. But this was next level cuckery. I just could not get over this is a person.
That is white. And I can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do.
Sorry, I'm gonna fucking cry because
I can't do anything about that.
I hate that you had to go through that.
Thank you.
As somebody of white experience, I know how bad it can be.
Thank you. But my mom is full on Asian. Like full.
Thank you. That's beautiful.
So,
when my dad died, I cheered.
Thank you.
Because I said that's one less white man.
Yeah.
That's how progressive I am.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I talk about ally.
I said get him out of here.
Get him out of here.
I said take him away, Satan.
And that's kind of how it works, right? It's like if one white person dies and you say that, like a person of color kind of comes into the world.
Yeah. A diverse story gets elevated.
It's kind of like a spiritual experience.
I'm hoping.
Chat, this can't be real, right?
No.
Is it? This does seem fake, but this part of the clip was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Thank you. That's beautiful.
It's the same person playing both
I cheered
roles.
Because I said that's one less white man. That's how progressive I am.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's how progressive.
Talk about ally.
I said get him out of here.
Get him out of here.
That's what's hard is I saw that it is probably fake.
Oh, it's gotta be some
I might
culture
be taking
jamming.
myself out of the running here, but
Yeah, well,
real.
Mine's more of like cuck of the decade rather than just a week because it's an older clip.
Oh, shit.
Let me get it here. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but
Dr. Fauci, give us vaccines, help all the people who have been quarantined. We'll wear our masks and we'll have to stay distant. We'll wash our hands and we'll be more resistant. Fauci.
Really hitting those
Yes. Promise us, please. We'll have a cure that can fight off this disease. Restrictions will lift with some ease. Dr. Fauci, don't forget me.
Woo!
And the bow.
And he's dead. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, I was able to wrangle a clip for my entry for Cuck of the Week.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I almost dropped the ball on that one. All right, here we go.
And as we mentioned, these are members of Donald Trump's family that you just saw there, and former President Barack Obama heading to the Rotunda platform, not joined by Michelle Obama. She did not also come to Washington for the funeral of Jimmy Carter.
There we go. That's my entry for Cuck of the Week.
You could be winning. Did you have another clip to go on that, Silas, or you said it was a multi-clip? No,
no, that was it.
Okay.
Oh yeah, sorry.
All right, and what is the vote of the audience?
Oh
go?
Yeah, we're gonna go to the audience to choose the winner of the Cuck of the
gets
Week.
the pick.
Goat, who's the cuck?
We're gonna send you a free F Bill Gates onesie. That's what you get when you tune into the TPR podcast. You
free
get
onesies.
stuff.
He can put on a baby goat.
Yes. All right. Well, okay.
We'll
Goat's
see
not
if he
listening,
responds.
so.
Sometimes it takes a while for comments to come in, I think.
I really didn't see Obama getting cucked as bad as he has been recently. And her podcast is so good, by the way.
Check it out.
I got her, I got Newsom, and I got Don Lemon just on a cycle, bro. I'm just overdosing on Don Lemon. He's one of my favorites. And I do think that Don Lemon is a right-wing psyop to make liberals look bad.
Well,
there's no way he's real.
Him.
What's that?
Let's keep funding him. And we have a winner.
Oh. Yes. Yes.
Hey, he's half black.
I am the winner. Okay, I'm not joking about the I'm not joking about the onesie either. Oh, that's happening for sure.
Put it on your goat.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get a look at this onesie again. I just really got to hammer this home. I mean, this is really quality stuff right here, guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, next time you have a baby, make sure to put that onesie on them right away whenever you take them to the pediatrician. They're going to try and jab that little guy. So just make sure you make a statement on your baby's chest.
Do you want any vaccine? No. Look at the shirt.
In small print under it, it should say ... and Dr. Fauci.
I'm surprised Teespring let me do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, I'm too proud of myself. What else do we got, guys? I mean, do you guys feel that same winds of change that I feel? It's tough to get
with Trump's administration because he's got a ton of young people, or younger at least.
Yeah.
Pam Bondi's actually in her 60s, I think.
Though. Yeah, she's surprisingly old. She's like the oldest one other than Don, old Teflon Don. Yeah. My man, I don't care. I am removing shame from my life, and I think that's one of the biggest political changes in the past 4 years is that anybody who was kind of there was a ton of silent Trump voters who were embarrassed to say, hey, I like Trump or I'm voting for Trump. It was always kind of like, oh yeah, I'm a big lib too, guys. And then once they get in the voting booth, they're like, yeah, okay, Trump makes sense. But that big political change is people just not being ashamed to support an authoritarian right-wing fascist openly.
Yep.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think COVID was like the when they mandated the vax, they mandated it for concerts. They made you basically a hermit and you couldn't do shit. And you're essentially a second class citizen. That right there is like, if anyone's like, why would you vote for that man? I'm like, dude, they wanted me dead. At the very least, they wanted me homeless and begging for change, because that's what we were getting with Biden. It was only because I worked for myself that I could not have to worry about that. But
Yeah.
that right there, I'm just like, dude, that gave me so much permission to be like, what do you got? Oh, he's such a mean man. He's chaotic. It doesn't matter, man. Like when you're up against the wall, you make a choice based on your own survival.
Mm-hmm.
I know people like to throw that around a lot. Like, if you vote for him, you don't care about my existence. You see that before the election, like, so much. And I'm like, you're an adult for one, and what? Because he's not going to allow children to transition. What are we even talking about here?
Oh, actually, you know what was the goat? The goat was talking about the black guy, meaning Silas.
Meaning I win.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, we'll send the onesie. We'll still send you a onesie, goat, but we're gonna send the other prize
Goat,
to Cyrus.
Did you say Silas in a Chinese accent? Cyrus!
That is racist, sir.
Double racist.
Oh. Well, I think I saw this clip of this old man near a protest, and I thought it was an inspiring little clip here that we can all abide by, to just be like this old man.
I am.
That was rude of her.
Well, the Trump derangement syndrome. Fair enough. It's not going to change anything. Well, we'll see.
Smoking the stick.
I like how relaxed you are.
If it's anti-Israel, I'm not for it.
What do you think about all these guys?
To be honest, they haven't got a fucking clue. I'm sorry, but no.
Pull up and say.
Just a little teaser there.
He is an American hero, I think.
Was it played again?
Oh, yeah.
Or keep playing it.
It's just an old man saying, I don't give a shit. I'm going to sit here with my MAGA hat while you protest.
I am.
That was rude of her.
Well, the Trump derangement syndrome. Fair enough. It's not going to change anything. Well, we'll see.
Oh, Grandpa.
I like how relaxed you are.
If it's anti-Israel, I'm not for it.
What do you think about all these guys?
To be honest, they haven't got a fucking clue. I'm sorry, but...
Oh, poor old boomer. Well, he's based.
Sometimes you just got to sit there, smoke a cig, and
watch it happen.
Watch it happen.
Let the libs just do their thing, I guess.
Well, the libs be lying and denying. We talk about who's got a political future, who's the up and comers. Well, I'll tell you who isn't. Mrs. Liz Warren.
Oh,
She was on a
Lizzie.
podcast having to defend some of her comments, and it didn't go very well.
Do you regret saying that President Biden had a mental acuity? He had a sharpness to him. You said that up until July of last year.
I said what I believe to be true.
And you think he was as sharp as you?
I said I had not seen decline. And I hadn't at that point.
You did not see any decline from 2024 Joe Biden to 2021 Joe Biden?
Not when I said that. You know, the thing is, he was sharp. He was on his feet. I saw him. Live event. I had meetings with him a couple of times.
Senator, on his feet is not praise. He can speak in sentences is not praise.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Look, it is, the question is, what are we going to do now?
Nice pivot.
Well, but what about now? Look, you're a liar. That you're laughing. Let me just roll this back a little bit to this part where she just pretty much admits with her body language that she's lying.
Acuity. He had a sharpness to him. You said that up until July of last year.
I said what I believe to be true.
And you think he was as sharp as you?
I said I had not seen decline.
Was that like a laugh? Like she was about to laugh?
Well, it's basically like, oh, so you think he was as sharp as you?
I had not. I said I had.
You?
And then go a little further. There's another look she gives him after she replies on
I
the
said one. I had not seen decline.
That one?
Yes.
And
it's like, is that
like,
good
do you
enough?
believe that?
Is that good enough?
Can we move on now?
Oh, he didn't let her off the hook, too.
I'll give him credit. I don't know who this guy is, but she went on his podcast, so clearly he's not on the right, because I don't think she would do that. But
interesting move. I mean, that's a professional liar, too. She's a professional liar. So in my head, I think she's playing like 4D chess, where she actually wants to come out and say that. And so she's having this guy ask the question and she's doing her little faces. That's my theory.
Yeah, maybe. Now they got to deal with Trump 2028, though.
Ooh, so, Trump 2028. Is that where we're going?
He released a hat that says Trump 2028.
Sorry. I was trying to go back to the normal screen.
I'll stop screen.
There we go. Sorry. My bad, guys. I've derailed the pod.
Whoa.
I'll leave.
And then someone made an Obama 2028 hat after that.
Oh, nice. I mean, that would be the most entertaining. Yeah,
that's the new rule, I think. That's what Elon says is the most entertaining future is probably going to be
Elon's razor.
The future.
The most likely outcome is the most entertaining outcome, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so Elon's leaving Doge. I feel like Elon's been out of the news a little bit, and maybe that's I think Tesla lost $8.5 billion in stock valuation in the past 100 days or whatever. But it seems like he is making moves to leave the federal government. He was always a temporary special government employee, but it looks like he is on his way out. And is he giving in to that fiduciary pressure of or his responsibility to the valuation of Tesla and the success of Tesla? I think the shareholders could probably sue him for acting in a way that could be detrimental to stockholders.
Potentially. I think the stock jumped as soon as he announced that he was going to be stepping back So
Okay.
it definitely, I think it will get beyond what it was before. But it was like an obvious attack on him, and at least 50% of the population realized that. So I think they may not go too far on like criticizing him as far as the stockholders go.
What do you think, Adrian? Is
Well-
Elon done? Is he just setting up a system? Was he always going to leave? It was an inevitable.
Well, I think he said he's still going to be involved in.
Yeah, like 2 days a week or something.
Yeah, I mean, so he set up the team and he's got the people in place. I mean, that's what he does. He runs how many different things. So it makes sense. I think I don't know if it's a non-story per se. I don't really see it as anything other than the natural outcome of what was going to happen. But what I want to say is, when is Doge going to actually cut some waste out of the Pentagon, dude? What the fuck?
Yeah. No,
That's where we're gonna.
Can't touch that. That's off limits.
That's where we're gonna get those Doge dividends, man. Come on.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for my check.
Yep.
My Obama phone.
Yeah, they said they were going to go into the Pentagon, but they never really did yet.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm a little bit disappointed. I think I'm a little bit disappointed. We're not getting mass deportations. I'm happy that the border is closed. We didn't get an end to the Russia-Ukraine war. Seems like there's still a giant mess in the Middle East. Trump can't fix these things overnight. But another thing is, we haven't seen any accountability. We really haven't seen accountability for people like Stacey Abrams and fraud through Act Blue and USAID, and we have not seen any prosecutions. The only one, and I'll give him credit for this, is good old Tish James. She's the only one that seems like is going to actually have any sort of repercussions, and that still remains to be seen. But I'm disappointed with the lack of justice. I don't know if Trump just cut deals with these guys and saying, "Hey, stay out of my freaking way, and I won't press charges or indict." But I mean, the U.S. federal government is the most corrupt place probably on the planet in the history of humanity, and they have the receipts. What's the holdup? What's going on? Why no justice?
I think it's probably investigations going on, and they're realizing how intertwined it all is. And they're seeing that it leads back to something bigger. So they can't, maybe they can here in the next few months, like start to go after the lower level people, but then that starts to cue the higher ups, the puppet masters, that investigations are happening. So you want the investigation to happen without anyone being aware of it.
Well, what's Q got to say about all this? Is Q still posting, or is it like a
No.
conglomerate of anons on 4chan that are kind of LARPing together, but it's like a LARP that actually is like a real
there's
military?
like a specific user identity for the main Q posts or whatever, and it hasn't posted since like 21, I think, or something like that. But their whole thing was future proves past. That was a saying that they would always say, and that basically you're watching a show right now to wake up as many people as possible before they do the major arrests. That way it's not such a trauma onto the United States. So like now there's so many more people awake compared to even a year ago. But so I think there's a certain point, if the Q stuff is based on some sort of reality in the background, that they will make some big moves, and it'll be pretty swift, like within a week or two, like mini arrests and potential lockdown of like not just citizens but media. Q warned about basically that the military would have to take action in many ways and take over communications and the streets to make sure that they don't pull their trump card, which would be alien
alien
chaos.
invasion.
Yeah, that or any other type of chaos that would, distract and make people think otherwise of what's really happening.
Well, I would settle for. I'm mad about the lack of justice, but I'll settle for some cheaper gas prices and a closed border, and maybe a reduction in mass deaths in a conflict in Ukraine that should have never happened.
And maybe not 840,000 children going missing every year in the United States. If we could reduce that would be awesome.
Well, closing that border down, I think they really did drastically reduce that number.
Yeah, and I was going to say, if they really want control and if they really want us as slaves, then they had it figured out in the 90s and 80s to like keep us all living pretty good, and like eventually, like we're living like kings even as of now, comparatively. But I would say the best way to control people is to pacify them and give them a good economy and give them a great culture that's distracting them, and then do stuff in the background. Like, I don't understand why they don't see that as a way of controlling people. They only see it like the divide and conquer route and all the freaking, like, all the game plans that we've known about since the beginning now.
Well, the GOAT says Q was a psyop and Alex Jones was right again a long time ago. And I actually tend to agree with that. But I think, Silas, you were saying
Q
it was
is a psyop, of course. And it's, if, like, I don't personally like subscribe to everything that's being said, because if it is a military psyop, then they have to put disinformation into their communications. They do that in the field. If you're sending a scout or a spy, there's a communications channel that is secure, but you also are going to be sending messages that are misguiding, just in case someone is listening. And the Q post, they knew the world would be listening and watching, so they had to put disinformation in that way. So you can't discredit it just because some of the things they said didn't come true.
It seems like a kind of a jujitsu move to avoid responsibility of a prediction not coming true. But I don't know. Maybe you're right. I think, well, I do think that Q does make a lot of right wingers look crazy. And I think, whether or not it's real, I don't know. I mean, and the reason why I would kind of lean towards not, for lack of a better term, not liking Q or not subscribing to that type of stuff is because it requires like decoding, so there's like people that like kind of that make videos about like decoding the real meaning of the Q posts, and like every third letter is actually, if you take every third letter of every word, it spells out a sentence, and that is actually the prediction of the Antichrist is coming back in 2038, and Klaus Schwab is actually he's actually an alien that is impregnating the people, the British royalty, to create a new race of lizard shapeshifters, and all will be revealed. Is that?
Yeah. So you've studied Q. That's spot on. Yeah. The way I view it is, it's information. So I take in all information and put it into my knowledge base, and through wisdom I discern through time what could be going on. And Regardless of what you think about Q, there have been many people awakened by it, and some of those people are those decoders, the autists that have made huge influence in the background and in the digital battleground, you could call it. And that did spark like a ton of memes and like people researching what's really going on. Like Q got me into politics. I didn't care either way. And I'm still very neutral, but
get off the fence, man.
Q helped me understand and learn how to research what's going on in politics and the behind the scenes. So through that, it is a psyop. You can call it a negative one, but it was positive for me because it made me realize a lot of what's going on, and all of that was true on the posts that I researched. So it's a double-edged sword with all that.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sparked, like you said, for people to do more research about this type of stuff and to look into Seth Rich or to look into, Pizzagate and all of that type of stuff. I think there's value in that for sure. But I think that one of the reasons why Trump has been so successful in politics is he's willing to use psyops as well. So, like, and an example of this would be like controlling the narrative. So he's super good at controlling the narrative and setting the news cycle, and that puts him in the driver's seat. And that's he was saying on one of the sessions, the Q&A sessions, on Air Force One not too long ago, maybe a week ago, or when this whole tariff stuff was going down in the beginning of the month. He said that that's the beauty of what we do. We give ourselves leverage. We're able to actually have a bargaining chip. We actually put ourselves in the driver's seat when it comes to like a lot of these policies, and I think that's why he's so effective. And I think that's why the libs hate him so much. They don't hate him because he's the second coming of Hitler, or that he's actually like a extreme right-wing fascist, or he's some sort of white supremacist. Like, none of that is true. That's not why they don't like him. They like him they hate him because he's effective, because he takes their rules for radicals and he actually reverses them and puts it on them. He goes on the offensive. For far too long, conservatives were reactionary by definition. And so now it's it's mind-boggling to see, and it's a white pilling moment for me to see, not only, like I was saying, the white pilling moment of seeing all these young people. And I'm not happy that older people are passing away at all. My grandpa just passed away, and that was like a sad thing. But at the same time, it is a signal of passing the power on to the next generation. But it's a white pilling moment for me to see conservatives not be so reactionary all the time and actually going on the offensive politically. And I think Trump will go down as probably the most consequential president of all time, or at least, with maybe a couple of exceptions, because he perpetrated a hostile takeover of the Republican Party and reshaped it in a way that no one could have done. And he's essentially handing the government back to the people, which is something I never thought I would ever see. And so it's a white pill moment for me to see that. And I'm happy to see it, and I'm happy. I'm excited for the future, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess he's supposed to interview with the Atlantic about being the most consequential president.
Yeah, here, let me read. Here, I'm all up on that Truth Social now, guys. But
That's
let me
the only
read his.
place to find truth, I've heard.
Here, can you see it? Okay,
Yep.
So later today, I will be meeting with, of all people, Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor of The Atlantic, and the person responsible for many fictional stories about me, including the made-up hoax on Suckers and Losers and Signalgate, something he was somewhat more successful with. Jeremy is bringing with him Michael Scherer and Ashley Parker, not exactly pro-Trump writers either, to put it mildly. The story they're writing, they have told my representatives, will be entitled "The Most Consequential President of This Century." I am doing this interview out of curiosity and as a competition with myself, just to see if it's possible for The Atlantic to be truthful. Are they capable of writing a fair story on Trump? The way I look at it, what can be so bad? I won. Yes, you did, Trump. You did win, sir. So, and that really kind of details a little bit of like the way that he works as well, is that he does test and pivot. He allows other people to test and pivot. Who knows? Maybe they write a really decent article that's actually unbiased or fair to him and his accomplishments. I do think saying the most consequential president of this century is like not that much of an accomplishment, because there's been 4 or 5, or let's see, Trump, Obama, Biden, and George Bush. So
we're just into the century, huh?
Yeah. So it's interesting, but I like the way that, I mean, for better or worse, he works with everybody, and he gives people second chances too, man. I mean, he is really forgiving, actually. Let's see. All the presidents that rebelled against SCOTUS are now on our currency. Oh, I want to see a Trump $1,000 bill, please, please.
Made of gold.
He's got the gold card. And he's got the N-word pass too.
The N-word.
Well, I don't know. What do you think, Adrian? You think these reporters are going to be able to tell an unbiased or write an unbiased piece?
No.
Big no.
Classic.
That's going to be my new tagline.
No.
Wait a few seconds. No. I mean, it'll be interesting, especially since Goldberg is the guy that was involved in that. But
yeah. Another admission, real quick, is Trump even said that the Signalgate was more successful.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's him admitting that the Signalgate was actually kind of embarrassing and actually damaging and sticky, and it shouldn't have happened. I think he knows that, but he has to present a united front, which I think is the right decision. He hasn't been throwing anybody under the bus, which is, that's kind of par for the course in politics, is throwing people under the bus, unfortunately. And so I still think that Vance is going to get thrown under the bus at some point. I'm still waiting for it. There's a lot of time.
Yeah. Once the evidence comes out that he did kill the Pope, it's going to be easy.
I think that secures him the nomination in my eyes.
I thought you were going to say that he did grape that couch.
Yep.
That couch did not consent. No, I'm cool with Vance. I'm on the Vance train. I'm okay with it. Who do you think's going to be? I know I asked you guys, who do you think's going to be on that stage in Democrat primaries in 2027? Or is that going to be 2028? That's actually going to be 2028.
It'll be fall of 27. Yeah.
Oh, okay. The primary. So on the Democrat stage, we've got obviously Booty Juice. You don't count out Booty Juice, y'all. We got my girl Jasmine Crockett.
Oh hell yeah!
We're gonna have Newsom. We're gonna have Cory Booker. We're definitely gonna have AOC
flying on our private jets.
Yeah. Hakeem, is Hakeem gonna be on that stage?
That guy's a limp-wristed.
What about Marianne Williamson?
She might try to promote a new book, maybe. Yeah.
Okay, so Who's going to be on the Republican stage for the primaries in 2027?
I think it has to be someone that's super popular to really do anything. And Oprah
Joe
came to
Rogan.
mind. Joe Rogan, yeah.
Also, I do think that we're going to see a run from Mr. George Clooney. That's my crazy, wild prediction. Is I think George Clooney's going to be
Clooney
on
and
that stage.
Oprah.
Yeah,
Well,
Clooney, Oprah.
He's got to get rid of that dyed hair he came out with.
Oh, he looks good. I don't know what you're talking about.
Keep the gray. You look like an old Casey Kasem.
I know.
Terrible.
So, will we see DeSantis on there arguing with like Chris Christie?
Yeah, no. I mean, he might try, but like, you blew your wad in 24. That was so stupid of him. He really like he could have. I don't think he's got the personality for it. I think he's a little too dry. He's been a really good governor, but I don't think he's got he doesn't have the personality. I think I think Vance has a little more personality than DeSantis does. I mean, nobody has the personality of Trump. That's obvious.
Yeah.
Who else can mimic that within the Republican Party? I don't see anybody. I mean, Rubio's blah, whatever. He's not going to go anywhere. Who else you got? I mean,
Vivek Ramaswamy.
He's running for governor of Ohio. I honestly don't even think he's going to win that, to be honest with you.
Well, we'll follow that. If maybe he does win. I don't know. I don't trust Ramaswamy. What else? Who else is going to be on that stage? I'm thinking, gosh, I mean, it's probably going to be kind of a sham of a primary because Trump is obviously going to pick someone, but they still have to have a primary. You know, they're not going to not have a primary. The primary this year was pretty much, or last time was pretty much a formality. Nobody came close to Trump's poll numbers, and he obviously secured the nomination and won. And I am still waiting for an apology from all you libertarians and DeSantis cucks to apologize for all those times that you said that Trump is unelectable. I was reliably informed that Trump was unelectable. Those were the words. Those were the exact words, actually, and the way they said it too. Unelectable. Well, it turns out he is electable, and it was much more fun of a campaign than somebody like. I think DeSantis would probably lost to Kamala.
Yeah, probably.
So okay, who else could? Are we going to see like a Mike Pompeo? Are we going to see? What are we going to see?
You'll probably see that horrible woman from South Carolina again.
Haley.
Oh,
yeah, she's got a comeback. She's got a redemption arc.
Nancy Mace, who I also don't like, honestly. She's so cringe.
Yeah. Is it just because she's cringe? Is that the reason why you don't like her? Is there a policy thing?
She's like kind of I don't know. She's just trying too hard to make a name for herself. Yeah. And just like doing that whole thing about, we got to kick the trans people out of the bathrooms in the, government buildings. Like, yeah, okay. Yeah, we know that. That's, you write the bill, sign it. Don't make this whole thing that like really matters that much, because just pass the bill. Who cares?
Yeah.
She also, the irony there about, men invading women's spaces is that she did that she was the first person to attend the Citadel, a military college, as a woman. She was the person that got it to be not all male. So there's an irony there where I don't like Nancy Mace.
No, I agree. I thought she was pretty. Yeah, I thought she was cringe the way she was like messing, or she was doing the just trying to use that transgenderism in the bathroom in the Capitol or whatever. It was just, it seemed like it wasn't wasn't like far enough, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, that's all you care about. And she like kind of used a lot of the same like talking points that you could hear like somebody from on the left saying of like, I don't know, just like protect women's spaces and it just, I don't know, it just seemed, she seemed kind of like a right wing lefty in a weird way. It's like, okay, but do you support like banning transgenderism?
Oh, Goat says, I think Carrie Lake can do it. I have to disagree because she can't win Arizona multiple times, whether that was rigged or not.
I thought she was going to win for sure the first time.
Yeah. Because that other lady just ran in the bathroom anytime somebody tried to interview her, but clearly that election was shady.
Katie Hobbs, the worst candidate ever. That
so bad. In Arizona, it's not a blue state. I mean, I guess you could say it's a purple state, but that lady, I mean, very shady, as we can see in Maricopa County all the time. But
yeah, I think that first one was rigged, and then I think her Senate race was sabotaged by Mitch McConnell. She is very good on camera. She has a talent, you know. She was
has
a
a
news
good
anchor.
personality that would work maybe on a national level, but she doesn't have a track record of winning. So,
I don't know why we haven't mentioned these people. Tulsi and RFK.
I was just gonna say Roger Stone predicted that Tulsi Gabbard will be the first female president of the United States. So
she's probably she has the best chance of any. I think it's probably going to be a Republican that breaks that glass ceiling. To be honest,
you think so?
You might get enough of the female vote, and then Tulsi's the best candidate for that. I honestly still don't see it. I think it's entirely possible, and I'm not making a judgment on this, but I'm just saying it. I think it's entirely possible that we go our entire life without that.
I agree. I don't think we'll ever see a female president, at least in our lifetime. And I don't want to see a female president for the last.
Hey,
I don't even want them voting, let alone.
Stop it.
Well, if Tulsi gets in there and repeals the 19th, come on.
That's hilarious.
The most entertaining outcome is the most likely. Mm-hmm. Carrie Lake, I don't know. Poor Carrie got stumped. To be clear, Vance is my choice for now.
I still agree. I still think he's the guy.
There's two ways to go about it. Who is it going to be? Just making a prediction of just of who it's going to be, but also who do you want it to be? So those are two different things, you know.
I'd like a Vance RFK ticket or a Vance somebody else. I think he's
who would be the vice president? Not that it really matters too much.
Yeah, it could be somebody we're not even thinking of right now.
I know. I'm thinking like Hulk Hogan or somebody. Like just keep politics entertaining. Kid Rock.
Theo Vaughn. Let's do Vance Vaughn.
Whoa, Vance Vaughn.
And then we get Vince Vaughn to be in the middle of there.
Mm-hmm. Love it. No, but for real. Not just who would you want it to be in 2028, not who's it gonna be or anything, but just like would I mean, I could see a world where like if Thomas Massey or somebody like that could get in there, that would be even more consequential than somebody like Trump. I mean, obviously that's never going to happen, but who would you want to see, I guess, is my question.
I think maybe my dream pick, even though it wouldn't pass it to a younger generation, would be Thomas Sowell.
Oh, yeah.
Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. What about Larry Elder? Is he going to run? He's kind of like Timu Thomas Sowell.
Yeah, I think he's maybe better in media.
Media people do really well in politics.
Yeah. But also, like, what's going to be the best influence for each person? And like Thomas Sowell is someone that doesn't do a lot of media,
It's
but
true.
he would be like perfect for a presidential figure, and would make a lot of awesome logical moves. And Larry Elder, I feel like he's more effective if he stays in media. But
Yeah.
because I feel like he would kind of fall short compared to someone like Thomas Sowell.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would love to see somebody like Clarence Thomas. You know, I mean, I know that's
That'd be
never going to happen, but
crazy.
somebody like him who's just, you know, ultra mega MAGA based AF
And black.
older black dude. He's got that older black guy magic, you know. And we're probably going to see him retire. I kind of think we're going to see him retire by the end of by the end of these 4
Okay,
years.
then get Thomas Sowell in there.
you need a young guy in there. You need like a 40-year-old.
Someone that'll last.
Yeah. What a disappointment old Coney Barrett has been, huh? If you could steel man the reasoning behind some of her decisions, like what would it be? Does she really think the Constitution doesn't allow you to deport people or something? What is her deal? This is just a classic 19th problem again. Does she hate Trump?
I mean,
do
it's
you guys
probably-
remember seeing that video where she's like looking at him like,
oh god. Yeah, I think it's emotions likely that got to her, and it was probably some sort of someone close to her that explained it a certain way that kind of made her lean. But
Well, I think I could be wrong, but I think she adopted some Haitian children, so maybe the whole eating the dogs thing really set her off. I don't know.
they're eating the dogs. I was so happy when he said that in the debate. It was just such a vibe. It was such a vibe. And just real quick stroll down memory lane with the debate. Something I loved about Trump is that, so when he said they're eating the dogs, right? They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets of the people that live there. That's pretty much exactly what he said. And then the guy, I can't remember who it was Muir or whatever, David Muir or somebody like that was like, no, actually, there's no credible evidence that actually ever happened. We actually checked it out, and there is no story. There is no evidence at all whatsoever that they are eating the cats and they are eating the dogs. That is a totally fake story. You are totally outside of your mind, Trump, and you're also orange and you're bad, and I hate you. And then Trump was like, what? Well, I saw on the news, I saw people saying that their pets were being abducted and eaten. And it was a moment where Trump kind of looked weak. But I loved it so much because he was basically saying, I trust the people. I trust the American people that are saying that to me. I don't trust you just because you're going to sit there and tell me there's no evidence, there's no evidence, there's no evidence. Trust me, I'm an expert. No, I actually am going to stick with the American people who are actually on TV telling me that. And I just loved that moment, and it made him look weak in a weird way, but he also it made him look strong to me and admirable to me. And they were definitely eating the dogs and the cats. Let's just be real about it.
Part of their culture, their top tier culture.
Yeah. Their inferior culture. Ooh, well,
about time to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Any last?
I mean,
words?
I'll just keep going forever, but I'll let you guys go. I know you guys got lives.
Yeah.
Muted there.
Well, good luck out there, ladies and gentlemen. Let's look on the bright side. We have a pretty much closed border. Energy policy, better energy policies are on their way. The Dems keep doubling down on crazy. And, I think we're going to see some peace in the Middle East. I think Trump's going to finally just end all the suffering on the planet. No, I'm kidding. But seriously, though, you got to look on the bright side when it comes to this stuff. And I'm still looking for some justice. I want to see Newsom behind bars and Fauci banished to Mount St. Helena.
Yeah, military tribunals. Come on.
And Trump, if you're listening, please just, who cares about what the Supreme Court says, by the way, okay?
He's listening. He's, I think, the third viewer on X right now.
My comment didn't make it on the last stream, but I just wanted to say, free Luigi.
Until next time, this is the Post Republic.